Hi, this is Phyllis and welcome back to my channel. Today we will be making my multi-hole beads woven bracelet featuring Potomac Bead Company exclusive RounTrio and RounDuo beads, and I hope you like it enough to stick around for my materials list and to make jewelry with me. And thanks to Potomac Beads and Ali Baumler-Buckman and Nathan for featuring these beads and giving me shout outs on their videos. Thanks a lot, guys, and enjoy the video. The materials for today's project are, we're going to use 2 sizes of seed beads. I'm using a size 15, and these are Miyuki. And the color is Opaque Luster Lavender. And Miyuki is going to be the best to use for the project because they're smaller than Toho, and I'm not quite sure about any other brand. I'm using a size 8 nickel colored seed bead, and that is a Toho. And that's going to be better because it's taller than the Miyuki. As far as our rounds and stars of the shows, our multi-hole beads, we're using RounTrio beads. I'm using these are 6 millimeter bead, and they're the round ones. I'm not using the faceted. So I'm using these, and their color is Chalk White Lila Luster. I'm using RounDuos, and I'm going to use my white shimmer color. I'm using Super Duos, and those are the Labrador color. And I'm using 4 millimeter bicones, and I'm using the white opal color. For my findings, I'm going to use a 2-hole clasp, and this is my silver clasp. I treated this with some wax and let it dry overnight. There's still a little wax in the hole here, but that's okay. I hate when they start fading and losing color, so I like to treat them with wax. I'm using wire guardians. I need 4 because I'm using the 2-hole clasp. And this is my stainless steel wire guardian. I need a small beading needle, a size 11 or 12 will be best. I'm using clear mist nanofill, and for the project, really you want a color that is going to fade into your Super Duo, because you're going to be passing your beads, your thread around the outsides, and so you're going to need something that doesn't show as much with these. I'm going to use my Fireline scissors and my bead board. Just remember, when you are working with multi-hole beads, you really have to cull them. Make sure that you check each hole of the bead, each hole of each bead. I found a couple that were not right. This one was misshapen, so I couldn't use that in my other project. And this one here was broken. And you're going to find that when you have multi-hole beads, you're going to find that you have some that are defective, but that's the reason why you pass your needle through the holes before you work with them. Because when you get ready to do your second pass and you can't get your needle through the hole, like this one, I couldn't get my needle through this one. And then when I was making some of my samples, some of my RounTrio and Super Duo beads were also clogged with paint. So what I'm going to do is you're going to need at least 4 yards of thread to make the project. So and I don't want to use 1 piece of thread. I want to do the base of the bracelet with a 2.5 yard long piece of thread. So get your first piece of thread needs to be 2.5 yards long, so that we can complete the base with that. I'm going to cut away. I'm going to get my thread cut and thread it onto my needle, and when I come back to you, then we'll begin our project. At the beginning of our project, we only need to use our RounTrio, RounDuo, Super Duo, and size 15/0 seed beads. I also want to show you that when I was culling my beads, I found a RounTrio that only has 2 holes, so it's very important to do that. One of my RounDuos has a clogged hole. I can't get my needle into through one of the holes of it. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to prove it to you, but just make sure that you are culling these beads. And some of my Super Duos, even though their holes weren't clogged, they aren't the same. This is my this is the color that they're supposed to be, the Labrador, but this one is faded. It's almost like it's a twin, but it's like a faded silver, so it's not the same. So I got rid of those as I came across them. But we're going to make our base. We are going to do right angle weave in these multi-hole beads. So we're going to begin the project by stringing on one of our RounTrio beads, and we're going to use the outside hole. So make sure you pass your needle through the outside hole. Then we're going to string on a RounDuo, a 15/0, a Super Duo, a 15/0, a Super Duo, a 15/0, a RounDuo, and we're going to pull these down and tie them. Just making sure that they don't open up or come loose or whatever it is that might happen when you're making jewelry. We want to keep them tight. And it's a snowy day, so you might hear the plows coming through. All right, so I've got my beads tied together, and what I'm going to do now is pass my needle through the same hole of the RounTrio bead where we began. I'm going to go through that hole of the RounTrio, and we're not going to pull the knot into the bead. We don't want to do that. We don't want to clog it, but we do want to pull it so that there are no gaps. Now we're going to go into the RounDuo bead, and then we're going to go into the same hole that we already went into when we put our when we made our first unit, and we're going to pull our thread, and then we're going to reposition ourselves here in the second hole of that RounDuo bead. That's why you need a color that you're not going to be able to see. So that's why I wouldn't use a smoke color fire line here. Now, to continue, we need to string on a RounTrio in an outside hole. You get your RounTrio, you get a RounDuo, and then we're going to get a 15/0, a Super Duo, a 15/0, a Super Duo, and a 15/0. And now we're going to pass our needle back into this hole, the hole where our thread is exiting, and we're going to go in the back of it, back of that bead there, and we're going to pull our thread down, and we're going to make sure that we don't have any gaps. We're going to pass our needle back into that same hole of the RounTrio bead, and back into the hole of this RounDuo bead that we already used to pull our thread, and make sure that you have no gaps. Just use your thumb to push down and make sure that there are no gaps in the thread. And then we're going to reposition ourselves by passing our needle into the second hole of the RounDuo bead. And this is going to be repetitive until we get the length that we need. I'm making a 7-inch bracelet, and the base of the bracelet is going to be 6 inches because I've got a 1-inch clasping situation going on with my 2-hole clasp and my wire guardians. It turns out to be about 1 inch. But right now we're just doing a repetitive thing. I know some people have an issue with right angle weave, and now we're doing right angle weave with multi-hole beads. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you. So you string on a RounTrio bead and you make sure that you use an outside hole. And then you string on a RounDuo. And again, you string on a 15-0, a super duo, a 15-0, a super duo, and a 15-0. And with all of that, you pass your needle back into that hole of the RounDuo where you are exiting. Pull your thread and pass your needle back into the same hole where you're exiting from your RounTrio bead. And up into this hole that you're already using on your RounDuo bead. And pull tightly. Make sure you have no gaps. Make sure you can't see the thread from the RounDuos and the RounTrios. And then to reposition, you pass your needle into the second hole of the RounDuo bead. And that's basically what you're going to do until you get your length. I used 18 RounTrio beads, and I believe for one side, yes, I used 18 RounTrio beads, and that means there will be 19 RounDuo beads on the one side. So continue making your units just like this until you have as many of your RounTrio beads and RounDuo beads on that you want for the length of your bracelet. So again, we're stringing on a RounTrio bead using an outside hole. We're going to now get one of our RounDuo beads, a 15-0, a super duo, a 15-0, a super duo, and a 15-0, and we're going to pass all of that into the second hole of our RounDuo bead. Make sure you pull tightly. Pass your needle back into the same hole that you were using in your RounTrio and the same hole you were using in your RounDuo. Pull your thread tight and then reposition, and continue this until you get to your desired length, and I'll cut back on and we'll work the rest together. I am putting on my last RounTrio unit, RounTrio, RounDuo, and Super Duo unit, and I'm going to do the same thing that we've been doing. It's repetitive. I am in my reposition place, and I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing, except this is the last unit for my length. And pass my needle up into the outside hole of the RounTrio. Oh boy. Of course, now that I want to finish, I'm getting knots. All right, and here I'm going to go up into the RounDuo like we've been doing. And into the second hole of the RounDuo bead. Now, once here, you shouldn't have, you will be done with your RounDuo beads. I'm sorry, with your RounTrio beads. You won't need any more of those. Those are just going to be in our center. But now we are going to get into position to add our other half. But before we do that, well, in order to do that, we're going to work in our center holes now of our RounTrio beads. I have strung on a size 8 seed bead, and I'm going to pass my needle in the center hole here of my RounTrio. And I'm going to do that all the way down. I'm going to string on a size 8 seed bead, and I'm going to pass my needle into the center hole of the RounTrio bead. I'm going to do that all the way down, and once I get there, I'm going to turn my camera back on, and we're going to make our other row. So just keep stringing on a size 8 seed bead and passing it through the center hole, the next center hole of your RounTrio beads, and I'll see you at the end. I'm at the end of my row, and I have strung on a size 8 seed bead, and I'm going to pass my needle into this second hole of my RounDuo bead, and I'm going to now go into this first hole of that RounDuo bead. Just make sure you don't have any gaps in your thread, and pass the needle back into the first hole here of your RounTrio bead, right into the first hole there. And this time we are going to skip the second hole and pass our needle into the other outside hole of our RounTrio. And from here, we are going to string on a RounDuo, a 15-0, a Super Duo, a 15-0, a Super Duo, a 15-0, and a RounDuo. We're going to pass our needle back into that same outside hole of the RounTrio bead. And we're going to I'm going to flip this over so that I can have some ease. I want you to see where I am. My thread is exiting the RounTrio here, and what I'm going to do is go back into this hole of the RounDuo bead. It's the inside hole, and continue passing my needle around the 15-0, Super Duo, 15-0, the 15-0, the Super Duo, the 15-0, and if you can, the inside hole of that RounDuo bead. And hold on to your work. Pull your thread. And now, once here, you are going to pass your needle up into the second hole of the RounDuo bead. And hold on tight, pull down so that you don't see any of your thread here. You shouldn't see any thread. And from this position, what we're going to do is string on a 15-0 super duo, 15-0 super duo, 15-0 round duo, and we're going to pass our needle this way towards me into the outside hole of that next RounTrio bead. And we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to pass our needle up into this inside hole of the previous round duo and pass our thread through the 15-0, the super duo, the 15-0, the super duo, and the round duo. It will separate, it will come apart, but pull down, use your dexterity or your other hand and pull down and reposition yourself now by passing your needle up into the second hole of that round duo bead. Oh, excuse me. And then put your thumb on the bead and pull the thread so that you don't see any thread there in between the RounTrio and RounDuo beads. And with your thread exiting the RounDuo bead, now you're in position to make the next unit, which is first untangle your thread, right? Note to self, untangle thread. Okay. Now you are in position to add the next unit, which I have made repetitive for you. 1 15-0, 1 super duo, 1 15-0, 1 super duo, 1 15-0, and 1 round duo. And you're going to pass your thread, your needle, into the next round duo bead coming in this direction towards me or towards you. You just pull it this way and make sure you are in your outside hole and pull your thread. Once there, we're going to do the same thing we have been doing. You're going to go into the second hole of the round duo and into your 15-0 super duo, 15-0 super duo. Okay, that's what I can get now. And then you continue on by advancing your needle through the 15-0 and the same hole of your round duo bead and pull in the direction of that bead hole. Make sure that you don't see any thread when you do this. And then reposition by passing your needle up into the second hole. And this is your next opportunity to make sure that you don't have any gaps in your thread. And just pull down. Turn it. I have to turn it so that I can get comfortable. And once there, I'll just pull down the thread and you won't be able to see any thread there. But however, now you are in position to make the next unit. And this is I'll do this one with you, and then you should be well on your way to it's repetitive. So you string on a 15-0, a round duo, I'm sorry, yes, a super duo, a 15-0, a super duo, a 15-0, and a round duo, and you pass your needle into this round trio coming in this direction. Make sure you're using your outside hole to do that. And then once you get your thread passed through, you come this way again, you go up into this hole of the RounDuo bead where you started this unit, and you go back into your 15-0. Okay, well, I don't know, I might need lunch or something, because I'm just missing. Okay, here we go again. All right, we're gonna go into the 15-0, the super duo, the 15-0, super duo, 15-0, and the second hole, the same hole of the round duo that you used to make the unit, and it will separate, but don't worry, because you'll have the opportunity to fix that. And note to self, more tangles. Then we're gonna keep going on. I'm gonna pull this down, this ornery tangle. We're gonna pull our thread down here this way. Make sure you don't see any thread between your round duos and round trios. And I'm going to advance my needle now through the second hole of this round duo, which will make us in position to add the new unit. So you continue to make your units until you reach the end, and we will do the last one together. I'm at the end of my second row, and on my needle I have my 15-0 super duo, 15-0 super duo, 15-0, and round duo, and I'm going to pass my needle into the RounTrio bead here, as we have been doing, and pull the thread and pass back up into the round duo, the 15-0, the super duo, the 15-0, the super duo, the 15-0, and if you can, the round duo. And because the round duo hole should be facing in the direction of the beadwork, that's really the direction in which you should be pulling your thread for maximum security. And when you get there, you make sure that you pull your thread tight enough where you don't see the thread that's exiting, the thread that's between the round duo and RounTrio beads. From here now, we're going to continue advancing our needle into the outside hole here of this RounTrio bead. Back up into this inside hole here of the round duo, and again we're going to go back into our 15-0 super duo, 15-0, and super duo, and don't go in the last 15-0 here. We're not going to go in there. What we are going to do is we're going to step up. So I'm going to turn my work this way, and I'm going to step up by passing my needle in the top hole of the same super duo where I'm exiting. And then we're now in position to add our outside embellishment. We're going to do that by stringing on a 4mm bicone and passing our needle through the top hole of the next super duo. Now this isn't going to sit properly. You're going to have to do each one like this. You have to put your thumb there and pull the thread to make sure that it sits in the formation of the super duo and the 15-0, because it fits perfectly. You just have to coax it in there. Next, we're going to string on a 15-0 and pass our needle from the top hole of this super duo to the top hole of the next super duo. And repeat the stringing on the 4mm bicone. And pass your needle through the top hole of the next super duo. And again, you're going to have to coax this into its proper position. Next, we're going to string on a 15-0 and pass our needle through the top hole of the next super duo. And you're going to continue doing this all the way down, alternating stringing a 4mm bicone and coaxing it into its proper position, and a 15-0 seed bead into the top hole of the next super duo. And you're going to continue that all the way down, and I'm going to show you how to reposition for doing the other side when we get there. I'm at the last super duo position where I need to place my bicone in, and I strung that bicone onto my needle, and I'm just passing my needle through the top hole of that second super duo bead. And as usual, you have to make your coax your bicone to sitting in the proper position. Now, once here, I'm going to continue advancing. Well, I'm going to kind of do my step up, but I'm going to continue advancing my needle through the bottom hole of the seed, the super duo bead, where the thread is exiting. And if you can, get that super duo, the 15-0, and the super duo, and the next 15-0 if you can. If you can't, that's fine, because we still have to pass our needle through more beads. And again, make sure you pull your thread tightly so that you don't have any thread showing. I'm going to continue now to advance my needle into this 15-0 and this hole of the RounDuo bead. And I'm going to continue now into the 3 holes of the RounTrio. So I'm going to pass up this way into the outside hole of the RounTrio, into the center hole of the RounTrio, into the outside hole of the RounTrio, into this bottom hole of this RounDuo, into the 15-0 here, and pop your needle right up into the top hole of that Super Duo bead. I'm going to turn my work just so you can see where I'm exiting, and we're going to continue doing what we did on the other side. String on a 4mm bicone and pass your needle through the next hole, the next top hole of the next Super Duo. And coax your bicone into position. String on a 15-0 and pass into the next Super Duo. And again with the bicone. And when you get down to the end, find a place to tie some knots and secure your thread and trim it off. So this is what we're going to do, and then we will be done with the base of the bracelet. So I will see you after I continue passing my bicones and 15-0s down. What I'll do is I'll probably, once I get down here past the last one through, I'll probably do the same thing I did before and go into the bottom hole here of the Super Duo and try to get through the 15-0 in the Super Duo, and I may probably just tie some knots in between the 15-0s and the round duos, and do that a couple of times. Try to avoid the center line because we are going to use that to reinforce our clasping. So finish your side with your outside embellishments and come around and tie a few knots and cut off your thread, and then cut yourself a new piece of thread and thread your needle with about 1 yard to 1.5 yards more of thread, and I'll see you in a minute. The base of my bracelet is complete, and I tied some knots around and between my 15-0s and my RounDuo beads, and I trimmed off that thread, and then I trimmed my tail thread, which is down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I threaded my needle now with about 42 inches of a piece of new thread. I'm going to start by tying this thread onto this bracelet, and I'm going to pass my needle up under this this RounTrio and between the 8-0. So I'm really just trying to get that center thread there. So I have my center thread here, and I'm going to tie a knot or two around this thread. And I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to let it sit there until we are done with weaving our clasp and doing our reinforcing. Now, as a design idea, you may want to add another round of embellishments on the outsides of these crystals, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave that like that. I like it just the way it is, but we do have to reinforce that crystal and 8 and 15-0 seed bead embellishment, and that's what we're going to do with this piece of thread that we're tying on. We're going to do two things. We're going to add our clasp, and we're going to reinforce that outside embellishment before we tie off and cut our threads. So in order to begin adding our clasp, we are going to pass our needle up into the center hole here of this RounTrio bead, and we're going to go up into the 8-0. We're going to continue by repositioning ourselves into the top hole. Now, the reason we're going over into this RounDuo bead is because we need to center our 8/0. It was just sitting there waiting for this part of the bracelet to get done. So what we're doing is we're passing our needle through the top hole here of this RounDuo bead. And once here, now we are going to string on what we need. Right now we're going to use our 15/0s and our 8/0s and our clasp and our wire guardians. Now these stainless steel wire guardians are they're kind of big, and I don't know how to get them in a smaller size. I keep ordering thinking I'm getting a smaller size, but I'm not. But what I'm going to do is just try to squeeze a little bit. Just a little. And you know what? I might as well not even bother with that now. But right now, let's continue. Let's get our clasp on. We're going to leave our clasp attached. It's a slide clasp. And remember, at the beginning of the video, I told you that I treated it by soaking it, doing a double dip into some floor wax, and so that the color doesn't fade. I'm going to string on 4. And I'm going to leave this clasp closed for now, so that, well, it's just easier for me to keep track of things if I do it that way. And I think that keeping it closed for now will work for everybody. So we're going to string on 4 of our size 15 seed beads, an 8/0 and a 15/0. I'm going to pick up one of our wire guardians and pass our thread into the hole, one hole of the guardian, and I'm gonna go continue advancing my needle all the way around into the groove in the second hole of the guardian. And then I'm gonna take my slide clasp, and I'm gonna pass my needle from the back up, and I'm gonna let this loop rest in the wire guardian. And why is it that every time I get here when I'm recording, I can never get that in? So now I'm going to, if you can see this, I'm going to hold on to my clasp, and I'm going to squeeze that guardian. Just like that. Then I'm going to pass my needle into these first 3 beads, 15/0, 8/0, 15/0, and pull the thread down, tighten that down. Get the tail thread out of there. And once we tighten that down here, we're going to string on 3 15/0s and pass our needle into this RounDuo bead, going in the same direction where we started. And going to reinforce this connection. Once I reinforce I'm not going to do that on the camera, just run your thread up this way into these seed beads and around, and come back down and exit these 15/0s on this side. So I'm starting my reinforcement by passing my needle into, I said I wasn't going to do it on camera, but this is kind of delicate. So pass my needle up into the first 3 15/0s, and then I'm going to go into the 15/0, the 8/0, and the 15/0, and then I'm going to go into the wire guardian and go around the loop and go into the loop and around the groove and into the second hole here now of the wire guardian. And make sure that your thread is resting in that wire guardian. And now we're going to keep advancing our needle into the top 3 seed beads, the 15-0, the 8-0, and the 15-0. Tighten down on your thread, and then we're going to pass our needle now into these 3 seed beads here. We're going to string on 2 15-0s and pass our needle into the 8-0 and the outside hole of that round trio bead. And we're going to skip the center hole of the round trio bead down here, and we're going to pass our needle up into the next outside hole and into the 8-0. And into the top hole here of the RounDuo bead. We're going to continue now by stringing on 4 of our 15-0 seed beads, an 8-0 and 1 more 15-0, and our second wire guardian. Pass the needle into the first hole, around the groove, and into the second hole. And turn your clasps this way and pass your needle up the back. And get that in there, that loop, and once you get there, hold on to your clasp and pinch your wire guardian. Just squeeze it as tightly as you can get it, and keeping it in line. Okay, I think that's the best I can get it. And I don't want to use a plier because I don't want to flatten those holes. I just want to protect my thread. So once here now, we're going to pass our needle into the 15-0, the 8-0, and the top 15-0 here, and pull our thread through. Make sure that your thread is still sitting in the groove of that wire guardian, and then string on 3 15-0 seed beads and pass your needle through this hole of the RounDuo. And we're going to reinforce, passing up these 3 15-0s. The 15-0, the 8-0, and the 15-0 here. I'm going to go around the back of it into the hole of the guardian and through the loop. And now into the second hole of the Guardian. Hold your finger there and just make sure that the thread is in the groove of the Guardian. And then continue advancing your needle through this top 15-0, 8-0, and 15-0. And into these 3 15-0s. And string on 2 15-0s. Pass your needle into the 8-0 and all the way down. This is how we are reinforcing the thread through our center hole. Just go all the way down through the center hole and all of the 8-0 seed beads until you get to the other side. And I'm going to see you when we get there, because we're going to put on our other side of our clasp. So I'm going to continue advancing my needle all the way down, and I'm going to come back on when I am in the position to add the other side of the clasp. I completed reinforcing my center line by passing my needle through all the center holes of the RounTrio beads and the 8-0 beads, and now I'm exiting here. And I'm going to, as you can see, this 8-0 seed bead is sitting crooked, so that means we need to pass our needle into this RounDuo bead here to begin adding our clasp to this side. So we're going to begin that by stringing on 4 of our 15-0 seed beads, an 8-0 and a 15-0, and a wire Guardian. Now it's nothing different than we've been doing. Pass the wire Guardian and into one hole, around the groove, and into the second hole, and pull those down. Now my clasp is still attached. I haven't taken it off yet because it's easier for me to leave it on. I don't lose it. I'm not looking around for it, and also it's in the position where I need it to be. And I'm going to continue the way I've been doing. So right now I'm going to pass my needle back into the back of my loop on this side of the clasp and pull my wire Guardian through that loop, and I'm going to flip this over and squeeze my wire Guardian shut, or I'm going to squeeze it as tightly as possible without moving it offline. And I'm also now going to separate it so that I can work with do the work with the bracelet open. So I've got a jumbled up mess here. Just let me tighten that down. And as you can see, when you're working with your clasp, you just make sure that when you're working with it, that the stump, as I call it, is on one side, so it's on the outer side on this end, and if everything is proper, it's on the inner side on this end. And I am going to attach this clasp the same way I did down on the other side, which means I'm going to continue passing my needle into this 15-0, the 8-0, and the 15-0, and I'm going to pull the thread. And just be careful that you don't get your thread wrapped around your clasp there, and just tighten down on that thread. Once you get there now, string on 3 size 15/0 seed beads and pass your needle into this side of that RounDuo bead. And we're going to reinforce by passing our needle into these 3 15/0s, this 15/0, 8/0, and 15/0 here. We're going to pass our needle, continue passing our needle into the wire guardian and through the loop of the clasp, around the groove of the wire guardian, and make sure that your thread, okay, here we go, make sure that your thread rests in the groove of the wire guardian, just like that. Continue advancing your needle through this 15/0, the 8/0, and the 15/0. And once here, now just make sure you know where you're going, because we want to move into the other side of the clasp to so that we can attach it. So what we're doing now is, what we had to do was make sure where we are so that we know where we are going. And right now we are going into these 3 seed beads, these 15/0s right there on the inside, and we are going to string on 2 15/0 seed beads and pass them down into this 8/0 seed bead and the outside hole of this RounTrio bead, and move on down, pull our thread. Now we are going to do just like we did on the other side. We're going to skip the inside hole and pass our needle up into the outside hole of this RounTrio and continue advancing up into the 8/0 if you can. If not, you have to do it in 2 passes, which is not a problem. So I can't get into the 8/0 seed bead yet, but I have to do a little folding and bending. So I'll just fold right there, or bend right there, and pass my needle into the 8/0. Then I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. Pass my needle into the top hole of the RounDuo bead, and here begin to add my beads for the clasp. So I'm going to string on 4 of my size 15/0 seed beads, an 8/0, and a 15/0, and my last wire guardian here. Pass my needle into the guardian on one side and around the groove and into the second hole. And remember, on this side, our stump needs to be facing the inside towards me, so I'm going to pass my needle into the back of the loop and pull the thread with the wire guardian being pulled through the loop. And once I get there, I'm going to move these out of the way and squeeze this guardian shut, or as closely shut as possible without moving it offline. So just squeeze it there. think that's the best I can do for now. And then I'm going to advance my needle through this size 15-0, this 8-0, and the 15-0, and I'm going to tighten down my thread. Once my thread is in this position, I'm going to add 3 15-0 seed beads, and pass my needle through that
You can always go to Lowe's or Home Depot and purchase a pickaxe and flathead steel shovel.
And thank you. Thank you for my notification. All right, so then I'm going to pass my needle through here, this top hole of this seed bead. I mean the RounDuo bead. And I'm going to reinforce this connection. That will teach me to keep my volume off on my computer while I am recording. Look at that. All right, so we are reinforcing. I'm passing my needle through these 3 15-0 seed beads and these 3 beads here, the 15-0, 8-0, 15-0. And around the back, into the wire guardian, around the back, through the loop. And would you look at that? The thread is not even in the groove of the wire guardian. So glad I saw that. These things are amazing when they work properly, when they are attached properly. So now we have fixed that. Now we are going into the second hole of our wire guardian. And now back into the 15-0, 8-0, 15-0 seed beads here. And into these 3 seed beads. And then we're going to add 2 seed beads and pass our needle into the 8-0 seed bead. And then we're going to pass our needle, continue advancing our needle through the outside hole of the RounTrio. And skip over the center hole and go to the outside hole on this side and up into the 8-0 if we can get it, and I don't think so. So now we go into our 8-0 seed bead and into these 15-0 seed beads, as many as we can, until we get to the one right before the top. So we're not going to go into that. We're going to kind of do our herringbone-ish. Sorry. We'll pass our needle into these 2 15-0s here. And down across here. We're not going into the one below the 8-0. We're just going to go across, skip across, and we're going to go down these 3 15-0s here. Well, I'm going to turn it this way. I have a better chance of entering those seed beads from this side. These 3 seed beads here. And now, once here, we are going to string on 4 15/0 seed beads. And we're going to pass our needle into the top hole of this Super Duo bead here. And we are going to run our thread, our needle and thread, down this whole line of crystals. And I think you may only be able to do one at a time. The crystal, Super Duo, 15/0, Super Duo, crystal, Super Duo, and 15/0, all the way down. And once you get all the way down, we're going to do this thing here. We're going to pass our 4 seed beads up into this seed bead, these 3 seed beads, and come down. But I'll do that with you. Just get all the way down and exit this Super Duo at the end and string on 4 of your 15/0 seed beads, and we'll do that other side together. I reinforced my outside embellishment, and now thread is exiting the Super Duo here, and I have strung on 4 of my size 15/0 seed beads, and I'm going to pass my needle into these 3 15/0 seed beads here. And I'm not going to go into the 15/0 that's under the 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to skip across and go into the seed bead under it that reaches into this center line of 15/0 seed beads, and pass my needle right through all 5 of those. Oh, so sorry about that. Excuse me. Then I'm going to, I don't want my connection here anchored by my 15/0s. So I'm going to pass my needle into the 8/0 seed bead and into the outside hole of that RounTrio bead. And once we get here, we're going to skip the center hole of the 15/0. Just get my tail out of the way. I'm going to weave that thread in before I nip it off at the end. I'm going to skip over the center hole and go back into the outside hole here of that RounTrio bead, back up into this 8/0 seed bead, and I'm going to turn it around this way so that I can show you. I'm advancing my needle into these 5 seed beads here, the 15/0s. And here I'm going to do that herringbone. I'm going to turn this around again. I'm going to do that herringbone thing that I did on the other side. Skip over the 15/0 that's under, or skip across the 15/0 that's under the 8/0, and pass my needle into these 3 15/0 seed beads here. And here I'm going to string on 4 15/0 seed beads, and I'm going to pass my needle into the top hole of the Super Duo bead, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to reinforce this whole outside embellishment row, and when I get down here, I'm going to pass my 4 seed beads up into these 3 seed beads and come down, and I'm going to start tying knots in between my 8/0s and my RounDuos. and then we'll be done, and I'm going to pop back on and show you my completed bracelet. I have completed my bracelet and put it on so that you could see what it looks like. I think that it flows so nicely. Everything fits perfectly. I don't have thread showing, and it was a pleasure to make it. And I chose these colors to make the video because when I'm trying to teach, I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. This is the actual bracelet that I made for myself, and this one is for teaching. I use these beautiful bronze RounTrio beads, but you can't really see the holes when I'm making the video, so that's why I made this one for teaching. And then I also made a different one. I used the faceted RounTrio beads, but as you can see, this is a wavy, chunky. I made it chunky and it's messy, and it's got a lot of threads showing, and the counts weren't right, so it was kind of extra. It's an extra mess. So I decided to just make the bracelet more solid by making it smaller. And you could use the faceted RounTrio beads to make it, but they're a little longer. Well, not longer, but they're straighter up than the round beads, and the count would not have been right. I'll figure out something else to do with those. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you love my bracelet, and thank you for hanging out with me, and see you again the next time.